Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello traders and investors, checking in on the S&P 500. We had a big time bounce today and it really got going at the end of the day. A lot of volatility back and forth, and the low of yesterday, 273.45, we held it by 5 pennies, ended up being a double bottom. The more important level for me was 270, the low of after hours yesterday, but either way, a higher low on the hourly compared to that level and a significant bull move. So here we have a key resistance, the high of pre-market, 288.45, and we broke that by 7 cents. But if we pull back into extended hours, and I'll be using SPX 500 USD, if you don't want to pay for futures data, into tonight, to see, can the bulls break this resistance? They broke it a little bit more clearly here, but can they break it, or are we going to reject and pull back and see a lower open tomorrow is essentially what we're watching for. If you look at SPY, the last week we can call the swing killer, in the sense that momentum, if we look at the last 7 days, including today. So the last 7 days, we close at the high of the day with a ton of bull momentum, and then we see weakness the next day. And then after that weak day, we see a higher open and a strong day. After that strong close, we see a lower open and a weak day. Then we had a strong close on Friday, and the huge gap down open. So the point is, we are seeing a significant amount of the movement happening during extended hours and during futures trading, and we can see momentum at the end of the day leading to complete 180 turnaround scenarios for the next day. So if you look at yesterday's close and you say, or you look at the open today and the pre-market, and you wake up this morning and say, oh man, I should have gone bullish. If you're looking at technical analysis, and if you're talking about markets that close, there was nothing at the end of the day yesterday that would have you confident swinging a bullish position overnight. Unless you're looking long-term, multiple weeks, multiple months, years out, and you're just scaling into long-term positions. There is a huge advantage with this amount of volatility with futures trading versus regular hours trading. I personally do not trade futures right now. I am trading cryptocurrency. I am trading the broader market. The last thing I want to be doing is spending more time on the computer overnight with extended hours on. So I personally, maybe someday I'll get bored. Maybe someday I'll hit a rut and I'll need something new, and then I'll go to futures. But with right now, that is not even on my radar of wanting more things to trade. So with cryptocurrency, I remember in 2017 when I was trying to hit the market as hard as I possibly could. My number one priority in life. And when I say that, I literally mean it. I mean, I was living in a shed by myself with a house that had other people living in it. So I had some friends around, but that was my life. And I would base my life plans around that. We would have people over in the house. I would leave to go out to the shed to trade cryptocurrency at 11 o'clock at night if there was an oversold bounce setting up. So my point is, if you want to be taking the maximum advantage of the opportunity that this volatility is giving us, futures is the way to do it. And changing your sleep cycle, I was waking up every 2 hours, and I had circadic, I forget the word, but it's a kind of sleep cycle that I was unintentionally doing, and I would just take a lot of naps during the day. But my point is, what's your goal? If your goal is to make as much money in this current market environment as possible to try and change your life over the next couple of years, then you're trading futures and you're changing your sleep cycle and you're setting it as your number one life priority of trading futures. If you're not going to go that hard, that's perfectly fine. But just make sure you say to yourself what your goal is, because if you're saying that, my goal is to make as much money as possible and I'm putting everything into this, and you're not trading futures, you're at a disadvantage. Your hands are literally tied for 10 hours through the night where you could otherwise be trading, utilizing stop losses, and having much more control of your trades. So the takeaway from this rant to start the video before we get into technical analysis is, if you are really serious and trying to go all in on this volatility, futures is the way to do it. And I don't mean going all in on trades. I mean focus all in on your effort and Let's look at technical analysis. So tomorrow we're either going to see a higher open and it's going to be a clear break of this resistance, which will tell us the daily bounce is clearly underway. I will still be looking for a daily lower high compared to 313.84. What would change that for me would be increasing bull volume. And if there's one thing I've learned over the last 5 years, it's that in scenarios where I would anticipate a lower high to form, the S&P 500 is great at completely disregarding that and V-shaped bouncing. So here, 289 to 273, bounce. And here I was definitely saying, back then, I'm watching for a lower high compared to 289.21, and we just blew right through it. So we have to keep that in mind as well. Right now we have, the president of France saying that the EU is going to do what it needs to do to keep the markets propped up and not let the coronavirus lead to an economic downturn, and Trump coming out saying pretty much we have the world leaders and the banks and everybody saying, hey, we're not going to let an economic collapse happen. And obviously at a certain point they don't have control over it, but the narrative, at least today, easing concerns as we closed very strong. The bull move at the end of the day today, we came down, we formed an hourly higher low. We started with a weak bounce into the middle of the day, and then by the end of the day, it was just a short squeeze, significant move, just a 5-minute uptrend and a runaway bull break to put us right to that key resistance that we're going to be watching overnight. So my point is we're going to be looking for a lower high compared to 313.84. If we see increasing bull volume, that will increase the odds that we could V-shape and just break that resistance. I don't think we're going to see that happen. I think a lower high compared to 313.84 is the most likely scenario. What I'm looking at is, can the bulls bounce significantly enough for this to be an inverse head and shoulders pattern, where we bounce and still set a lower high, but it's a big enough bounce to then form a daily higher low, which is the right shoulder, and then change the daily trend. So that is the best case for the bulls. Well, the best case is a V-shaped bounce and break 313.84, but the more likely best case scenario for the bulls, bounce as far as you can to create as much space as possible for the daily trend change attempt to have space for the higher low to form before trying to change that trend. So hourly uptrend is our guide. When we lose the hourly uptrend, the daily lower high is likely set. For right now, anything above 273.50 is an hourly higher low. And you better believe I'm going to be watching for a bearish entry on a daily lower high on a bounce and trying to position myself in low risk by using the hourly uptrend as my guide. If we get an hourly head and shoulders pattern that forms in a day or two, maybe I will try and top fish the right shoulder, put my stop above the high. Otherwise, watching for a loss of the clear higher low and higher highs to indicate the daily lower high has been set. So congrats to the bulls. Now let's see how much follow through they can get with it. Any name that is holding the low of last week automatically stronger than any name that is not. Apple is a tightening daily range. This is what I anticipated was the most likely scenario for the market overall. That oil news over the weekend threw a wrench in that most likely scenario, but some names are doing it. Higher low established, watching for a lower high. I'm going to be watching Apple for any potential clues for how the tech sector might break in response to this tightening range. Because QQQ, well, I guess we'll get to that, but QQQ is not forming the same pattern because we broke support. IWM, lower low today, but bouncing. So anything under 154.20 is a lower high. Are we in an hourly uptrend? No. So lower highs and lower lows still. Have to change the hourly trend if we're going to consider a bounce underway. We would then zoom out and look for a daily lower high to be set. If the bulls can get over 136.17, there's a lack of price resistance as we work on the gap fill. QQQ, solid bounce, solid strong close. Again, the market is pretty much the tech sector. 23 whatever percent holdings in the S&P 500. And we got to a point, we're probably right there now, where the number 2 and number 3 holdings, financial sector and healthcare sector, combined are the same weight as the tech sector. So Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, these tech sector names are the most important names for the broader market. So QQQ, anything under 219.61 is a lower high, and the goal for the bulls is to bounce as much as possible to try and see an inverse head and shoulders take place. Keeping in mind that if we see a daily trend change from this point on all these names, we zoom out to the weekly and we just look for a weekly lower high to be set. So you talk about fractals and equilibriums and time frames. You can have, let's look at Apple as an example. You can have an equilibrium on the daily time frame for Apple, and let's just say it sets a lower high, higher low, and breaks bullish. We then zoom out and we look for a weekly lower high to be set, and we probably look for a weekly equilibrium to then play out as well. Equilibrium is the most common pattern that you will find on any time frame in stocks and in crypto and in futures and in commodities. XLF has been much weaker. The bounce to get back to 28.25 is a much higher, steeper hill to climb. Could this be a daily bear flag? Yes. If we do not see much follow through tomorrow or Thursday, yes, we have an hourly trend change. Although actually with extended hours on, it's not as clear. These bulls want to break 24.24 for it to be clear. But once we change this hourly trend, a trend change with no follow through means zoom out and look for a flag. So if we aren't able to get back up over 25, it's a bear flag possible. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Yes, it's a big green 5% day in the market, but that's coming after a big 7% red day, and the bulls aren't out of the woods yet. Just looking for daily lower highs on a lot of individual names. XLV, double bottom, and now anything under 115 is a lower high. So very clear resistance approaching. Similar to Apple, it's in a tightening range. I would prefer if everybody was in a tightening range like this. It makes levels much more clear, but only a few names are, and XLV is one of them. Hourly uptrend is our guide. When we lose the hourly uptrend, our daily lower high has been set. And the high of pre-market this morning is key for a lot of individual names. Some names are breaking that high, some names are not. I would say more names are not than are at this point in time. So if we see XLV open lower tomorrow, we have an hourly equilibrium to watch. We've got pretty much a double bottom, lower high. We'll then look for a higher low. We'll have a tightening hourly range if we cannot break that level. XBI dropped to a lower low today, but a significant bounce. Have we changed the hourly trend? The answer is no. High of yesterday, low, lower low today, still a lower high, 87.31 resistance. Have to change the hourly trend for us to zoom out and look for a daily bounce to be underway. It was only up 2.7% today, while both QQQ and XLF 5.5+%. SMH bounces underway, close at the high of the day, hourly time frame, right at the high of pre-market, and just getting over it at the end of the day. So you can say we're in an hourly uptrend, and we're looking at daily resistance. Anything under 138.91 is a daily lower high. TLT, huge pullback. Hourly uptrend was lost, which was the first indication daily consolidation was coming. Lower high, lower low pattern. When we bounce on TLT hourly chart, anything under 172.93 is an hourly lower high. We have to change the hourly trend back to the bulls for the daily higher low to be set. We're absolutely looking for a daily higher low. Bulls have plenty of space. The daily 12-period exponential support as a visual guide is approaching. Hourly RSI hitting oversold for the first time after a massive bull run when looking for a daily higher low. In general, is a good time to start looking for that daily higher low to form. So if we see a little bit of a bounce tonight and some weakness into tomorrow, hourly RSI will be getting oversold. Have to see an hourly trend change. So when I see this kind of setup and I say, okay, let's say the morning is starting right now. I know I'm looking for a daily higher low and the bulls show up first thing. I can either play that bull move being aggressive as a bull, or I can say, okay, no big deal. I know that anything under 172.93 is just an hourly lower high, and we're not going to change this hourly trend on this move alone. There's no reason for me to feel FOMO or chase that bounce, knowing that that resistance is what matters, and the trend change is what matters, and we're still a ways away from changing that trend. VIX, daily inside bar, break it bearish under 43.60, and we'll then be seeing daily consolidation underway, and we'll look for a daily higher low compared to 24.90, with bulls having tons of space for that to form. What does it look like if we get further pullback? Well, just like our inverse head and shoulders potential, if we pull back and drop into the mid-30s, I'll then be watching for the potential of a head and shoulders on the daily chart for the VIX. Gold, pulling back. So I exited half of GLD yesterday for reasons I stated in yesterday's video. I'm not going to repeat that if you want to go watch that again. We're just looking for a daily higher low compared to 1563. 4-hour downtrend is our guide now. And we have to see a 4-hour trend change for the daily higher low to be set. Why 4-hour and not hourly? I just talked about the hourly in stocks. Because commodities trade for a lot longer hours during the trading day. One daily candle for XAUUSD is not the same as one daily candle for Apple. The same amount of hours of trading are not present. So I need a 4-hour trend change for commodities to give us daily higher lows. And I would consider any bounce on gold right now, anything under 1685.76 as just a 4-hour lower high. A little bit of a double bottom at 1642 to be keeping an eye on. Silver, daily inside bar, break it bullish, and we're looking back at 1761 to try and change the daily trend. Break it bearish, and we're looking back at our low of 1639. Bull miners, we're looking for the daily higher low compared to 2080. Have we changed the hourly trend? No. Well, okay. You could argue either way. You could say this is our low, high of the bounce. We did form a little higher low and break resistance. You can definitely say that. If you look at the half-hour time frame, it's more clear. So if you are an aggressive bull, that's enough for you to say, yep, that's a trend change. We're looking for the daily higher low to be set. Bulls need to break 2736 tomorrow to confirm the daily higher low, and we will then look for a lower high compared to 3420. After significant volatility, look for tightening ranges as the most likely scenario. Oil, bounce underway, daily inside bar. Have we changed the 4-hour trend? Yes, but I want to see a break over 35 for it to be convincing. 34.81 was our top, and we only broke it by 18 cents at this point. So we do have a little bit of an attempt at an uptrend here. But these bulls need to get more significant follow through. If we break this inside bar bullish tomorrow, we zoom out and look for a daily lower high, anything under 48.64. Keep that in mind as well. We'll be watching for oil to give us potential clues for its daily lower high, and maybe that can help us identify when the S&P 500 is likely going to give us a daily lower high as well. Natural gas, significant follow through, increasing bull volume. That bull volume stood out yesterday, and it's only with an exclamation point on it again today. And from here, we're looking at 2032, which is our weekly lower high of resistance. We have not broken weekly lower highs since the 278 level. Bulls have a lot of momentum. So much momentum that we have not consolidated on the 4-hour time frame since going over 20%. So there's going to be bulls looking to buy the next 4-hour high or low once we do top out. And then there's going to be bulls looking to buy the daily high or low once we do top out. This could be a notable momentum shift for natural gas that has taken a really long time. This initial move is great. It gives the setup for the bulls to have space for higher lows to form, but I must see a daily trend change if I'm going to believe in follow through. As far as this 2-day action, it's the most significant bullish 2 days in a row that we've seen in 3 to 4 months, maybe 4 to 5 months. And again, that falling wedge breaking bullish on this daily time frame. So that's where we stand in the market as a whole. Overnight, what I am watching, SPX 500 USD, is this going to be a double top, or can the bulls convincingly break through this resistance? As of right now, the bulls have favor because we closed so strong. We technically broke that level, just not convincing. And if we see this follow through into tonight and have a higher open tomorrow morning, bounces will be underway across the board. Hourly uptrends will be our guides on those bounces, and we'll be scouting daily lower high resistances. Doozy of a video today. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you tomorrow. Kicking it up a notch with more seeds. Started tomatoes and cabbage and cauliflower and broccoli and all that stuff. More seedlings and flowers. I've been watering with these things every morning so I don't soak my dining room and my forearms doing a couple thousand squeezes a day. They're getting pretty jacked. Adding some nutrients to the bed just to get things a little jacked up for spring. Going to plant today beets, peas. Gonna plant the peas in this side of the bed, just on this row here. Don't have to take up much of the bed for the peas, and then I'll have some chicken wire going from the bed to the fence. So they'll just climb up the fence and the sun goes up overhead this way. Planting beets, radishes, peas, lettuce. I already got the garlic and onions. Onions are starting to fatten out their stems. I've never been able to grow good onions here, but I think I just wasn't starting them early enough in the fall because these are looking way better than I've ever gotten them.